So I think I just want to thank everybody for being here this morning, and welcome to the second edition, to the last day of the second edition of the Gouna Film Festival. We are thrilled as a festival, and at Gouna is very happy to welcome Owen Wilson. So, like I said, we're very happy to have you in Gouna in Egypt. And to break the ice in the beginning, I'd like to ask you, how do you find Egypt so far? You've been to Luxor, you are now in Gouna. How does it feel to be in Egypt?
Well, it's been incredible. We were talking last night about it's just been an amazing trip. And landing in Cairo and then going to Luxor and visiting the Luxor Temple and Karnak, and but really amazing just floating up and down the Nile, and the history, and although Gouna is fairly new, there's not a lot of history here, so this is more like being in Texas, but
Dallas.
Cairo, yeah, in Dallas, where if there's a restaurant that was there in 1974, it's a landmark.
So let's go back to the beginnings. Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, but mine seems to be going in and out.
Yeah, it's cutting. Yeah. Can we put the sound a bit up and up? This is a better microphone. Yeah. So I'm interested in the beginnings. You come from Dallas, Texas. You were born there. The family is a mother, as a photographer.
Yes.
The daddy works for television and advertising. Am I right?
Yeah, my mom is a photographer, and growing up, she worked with Richard Avedon on this In the American West project for about 10 years, and so my brothers and I would accompany her to Montana and Wyoming and seeing the American West, and creativity was always supported and encouraged, luckily, in our family. Yes, and my dad was the head of the public television station, the PBS station, and then he went into advertising. But I think, growing up in Dallas, loved going to see movies, but never imagined that was a possibility to work in movies. I'm not sure what I would have done. Maybe go into advertising or something.
Well, so at home with the family, it helps you big time to be inspired by the whole showbiz, this whole career, because you think it influenced you big time to be who you are today.
I think so. I think that I know that the PBS station in Dallas was the first station to carry Monty Python and the great humor that Monty Python had. And more than that, just growing up in a family where, there was just a lot of humor and a lot of laughing, which, there's also a lot of arguments when you're raising three boys. But
you're in the middle. You're the middle.
I'm in the middle, so I'm from both sides. Yes.
And all like actors.
Yes.
All actors.
Yeah.
All three of you.
Yeah, all three of us. Although my older brother's here with me.
Yeah.
Although he's not here today.
Yeah,
I think he's still sleeping. I didn't realize it Gouna was going to be such a late night place, so I think originally this was scheduled for 10 a.m. I cannot imagine having been here at 10 a.m. because 1 o'clock seemed early, considering I was sleeping not very long ago, and my friends are still sleeping, so they're supposed to be here to support me, but
yeah, but the audience are up.
I think they're getting ready for tonight. But yes, Gouna, there's a lot of action.
Yeah, in Gouna. During the festival time, of course, but also...
It's not like this normally?
Well, no, Gouna's always busy with the events.
But it's people stay up very late.
Yeah,
right?
Well, in Egypt people stay up very late in general, not just in Gouna. It's part of the culture. We're not early birds, you know, we try to...
Yeah.
Party animals.
Party animals, yes. It's not a real carpe diem. But I guess it's so warm out, sometimes maybe it's better to...
It's interesting.
to take a siesta.
Let me go back to to your career. Well, everybody knows you. Owen Wilson, the actor, the good-looking actor, very popular. But the thing is, I think being a screenwriter or a script writer, generally, it's different when an actor is a writer. And I'm very interested to know that because here, in this side of the world, we don't have a lot of that. We don't have actors who write a lot. It's not very common here. So, how does it be to be both?
Well, I think for me it made a crucial difference because I don't think I would have made it as an actor had I not begun as a writer and
producer as well.
Yeah, producer. That's not so much that, but with writing, I was an English major in college, and my roommate in college, Wes Anderson, he wanted to be a director, and he encouraged us, or wanted to write a screenplay, and so I sort of began as a writer, and I think, that was with Bottle Rocket, but then we did Rushmore also. But I think that, it's made a crucial difference for me as an actor just because I didn't train as an actor. And so what I felt I always had confidence in was my, my ear, my writing, and was always, I was lucky enough to work with directors, maybe because I had begun as a writer, that always encouraged me to come up with ideas for the script or ways to improve the scene. And so I think that was very helpful.
Obviously. So let me go back to, in the 2000s, you started a bit of a change in the type of roles that you play. Like we say, you went more on the drama side. Was that the original intention, or were those roles only just a break for you from comedy, and you wanted to make something different, like to start working on different kinds of films?
I think it wasn't a conscious break. It was, a lot of times just, maybe what you were offered, and so you end up kind of thinking, oh, that could be interesting to do. And I don't really see a huge difference between comedy and drama. At least for me as an actor, it's always the same goal, is to try to make it sound believable and try to make it sound real. And even the humor, I find that a lot of what I find funny is stuff that comes out of real life, and that's not such a a big leap to drama. In fact, a lot of dramatic movies, even a movie like Raging Bull, Scorsese movie, to me has great funny scenes between the brothers, and they're funny just because they're so real and so recognizable if you have a brother. And so, yes.
Well, I want to stop at the experience of the Midnight in Paris. That's That was one hell of a movie. I loved it. I was very jealous myself. I wanted to be in that film. This is Woody Allen.
Yes.
Well, collaboration. You work together. Tell us more about this experience.
Well, I was nervous because when I read the script and I saw that there's a time travel element, you don't associate Woody Allen with time travel. And you think, how is he going to do this? How is it going to be believable that all of a sudden we're meeting Hemingway and Dali, and who's going to play these people because they're such icons? But everything just worked. It was actually a good lesson that he didn't pay any attention to the time travel. There was no lightning and no special thing that happened. I just was on a street corner and I get in a car and I'm in the past. So yeah, it was a really good way to do it. And the actual experience of making the movie, I'm always a little bit nervous making the movie because you never know how they're going to turn out. And I loved Paris so much, I was hoping that it would, not be a terrible movie because I wanted to be able to return to Paris and not get booed as I was walking down the streets. But I think that one of the nice things about working on a movie like that, and especially, now when I've gone back to Paris, you'll see people that are going to places where we filmed, and so that gives you a nice satisfaction. And then the actual working with Woody, he didn't give a lot of direction. He doesn't really talk that much.
What did you do
Not
then?
really. In fact, when I landed in Paris and we had our wardrobe fitting, he came up and we'd never met before, and he said, "Hi, nice to see you, and how was your flight?" And I said, "It was easy." And he said, "Okay, well, good. This was probably the last you'll be hearing from me." And that almost was. We never went to dinner or anything. His sister's a producer and should go to dinner with us sometimes. But yeah, just seeing him on the set, he's just very polite, gentle way of working, and but there wasn't a lot of small talk. I would see him sometimes on his iPhone, and he would a lot of times be checking the weather. I think one time he really was checking the hottest place was in Cairo, yeah, for some reason that interested him.
Were you shooting in winter or in summer?
We were shooting in August in Paris.
That's really hot in Cairo.
Well,
really
yeah, it's hot, even here in almost October. I've been here a week and I'm still waiting to see my first cloud. But it's kind of nice, it's not going to happen.
Is it because you're here, you're shining out?
It's just blue skies and sunshine every day. I guess that kind of frees you up to create a great civilization if you don't have to waste time talking about the weather. I wonder what the weather is going to be next week. It's going to be the same as it was last week.
That's what the British
Now let's get back to creating that calendar in those pyramids.
The British talk about the weather all the time. It's well known that that's the main topic.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. Please excuse my voice. I also slept very late. You can see.
Yeah, I saw you at the concert.
Well.
That was great.
Did you love the
every night.
He's like top. He's like superstar.
I guess he sings every summer. There's sort of a song that he has.
Yes, that's true.
Captures
the
Egyptian feeling for the summer. So.
Yeah, the thing about Robert Diaz is that he is the voice of our generation.
Yes.
For 30 years or more, he's been on top. So all our memories, we're very nostalgic about what he sings, and we all know it by heart. So whenever he's there, it's like we are. It's like a film. It reminds you of your whole life.
Yeah, I felt that. It was reminding me of my life too.
The room is full of.
Use more imagination to to translate, but yes, I can get the feeling.
I can translate later, that's not a big deal. I just want to tell you that the room was full of people, like full of filmmakers, actors, directors, musicians, cinephile, people who love the industry. So it's a mixture of media, of course. I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance, so I don't want to speak a lot, and I want people to ask more questions so that we have a real interaction and not the formal interviews and chats. But
and then tonight's going to be a big
night.
Party.
Yeah.
Every night it builds. Yes. I'm glad I began the trip in Luxor, where it was more quiet. I was able to get some rest.
Yeah, that's cool. What about Shanghai Noon? Shanghai Noon is Jackie Chan. How was this?
Yeah, it's funny, because when I was in Luxor, when I was walking around on the street, I had quite a few people say, "Where's Jackie Chan?" I think they expect me to, he's right behind me. But Shanghai Noon, we filmed that in Canada, in Calgary, and working with Jackie, and then working with him again. I always remember reading that Spielberg said if he was going to do an action scene with Jackie Chan, he would let Jackie direct it, because his background as a filmmaker, beyond just as an actor, is so rich and extraordinary that he's just a master at that. And even when we were doing our little action scenes, he would always have great ideas. And then he would let me have ideas with the dialogue and the script. So it worked out nicely because we were good partners in that way. You handle the action, and then I'll handle the dialogue.
That's a lot of confidence from directors. You know, we don't meet that a lot in our industry.
Yeah.
Not every director can actually say that or appreciate that. In the last couple of days, I've been observing you. I've been watching you, watching us.
I felt like there was somebody watching.
I'm not stalking you. So I see in your eyes that you are, you're watching, you're observing everything that's happening around you. Is that the writer in you? You're inspired? Are you thinking?
Maybe it's just the paranoia. But yes, let's say it's the writer. No, I think it's what it honestly is just absorbing this experience. And my mother always says when going on a trip, soak it up. And this is a trip that you really want to soak it up, because there is so much to see. And it's not an exaggeration to say that I've already seen things that you just never forget. And I've taken so many pictures. I feel like a teenager at a Justin Bieber concert. I'm constantly on my phone. And I think every friend and person in my family has gotten a barrage of photographs of me in front of the pyramid or me on a camel. But it's just exciting.
Did you used to, with your brothers, since all of you are actors, you used to make acts at home, you used to train together or like practice together, how did it all start? I'm interested. What inspired you to...
I mean, it was really just luck. It was when Wes and I wrote something together, and then he wanted my brother Luke and I to act in it, and that's how it came about. And as far as training when we were growing up, there wasn't, we weren't doing plays, although we lived on a street in Dallas called Farquhar, and we had something that my dad called the Farquhar Players, where my brothers and I would do little skits on sort of imitating my dad, getting mad at us. And everyone always wanted to play my dad because that was the real juicy role, because it had humor and anger and passion.
Passion, that's the key word, I believe, to everything. Yeah, so when I look here, you have a great career with great films, and every time I see nominee, many nominations. How did it feel?
It's an honor to be nominated.
Yeah, it's like you really you have a very rich career and great films, like if I say The Cable Guy, Anaconda, Armageddon, and we mentioned Shanghai Noon, of course, and Midnight in Paris, You, Me, and Dupree, all those films. And they're so different as well. It's not just one type of film. You do comedy, you do drama, romance, wedding crash. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's great how different all those films are. When do you feel that you're fed up from? You don't want to. You want to do? Do you feel sometimes that you don't want to do this anymore? There's something else that you want to do, like when you're a writer and an actor. What have you thought of directing, for example, for instance?
Yeah, I think had I maybe not begun with Wes, who
Wes Anderson,
right, had when we wrote together, he's so good at executing the script that it was just never a thought of mine to try to direct because we already had a director. But I think at some point it would be nice to try that and to try to tell a personal story where you kind of see it from start to finish, because a lot of times as an actor you're going to obviously a script that already exists and you do your best within that framework, but to write something from beginning to end and that would be a good challenge.
But yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk. I really want more interaction from our audience, so I want to know who has a question. And yeah, one question. Judita. Yeah.
Hi, Bushra.
Hi.
Congratulations for the festival. Fantastic.
Thank you, dear.
And it's an honor to hear you talk, Mr. Wilson. Midnight in Paris is an incredible film. I've watched it so many times. You're always very subtle in your acting, which is the genius of your process.
Genius.
No,
She is an acting coach herself.
Oh, really?
That's right. Yeah.
I love how you're always so subtle and flowing, and I'm really curious about your process, especially in Midnight in Paris, because the hardest acting is just to do nothing and then feel everything. So I just want to know what your process is.
Well, it's it's not an elaborate process. It would just be, in the case of Midnight in Paris, you're kind of reading the script and then just, for me, maybe kind of going at it from a writer, imagining the scene and always thinking, well, is there a way maybe to make the scene more believable to me, or find a way to say it that maybe is more natural. So it's always trying to make it, flow and be natural. And then with Midnight in Paris, there's a lot of situations where it's unbelievable, and obviously I have no experience with what that character is doing, and you don't want to overact. I think that most actors are afraid of being kind of a ham, right? And so sometimes I have a tendency, right, to kind of maybe, where they're telling me to go faster, to speak faster, but.
That's your style. That's who you are.
Yeah, and I think that with it was just kind of, going off. We had, excuse me. I think about the scene with Adrian Brody playing Dali, and he was so amazing as that character. I didn't have to act that much. I could really just look at him and just enjoy and kind of marvel. So that's the best, is when it works out that you really are just there and can behave naturally and feel that. I'm trying to think of movies where it's a little bit like being a kid sometimes acting. It's make-believe, and so we all have that. When we're kids.
When you did that with your father, when you started imitating.
Yeah, and it's and even before that, playing with soldiers and stuff as a kid. But just your imagination, and I think that's.
Speaking of imagination, I want to stop at Lightning McQueen. the experience of voiceover, like it's very difficult because you don't have the chance for facial expression or body language, and you have to put it all in your voice. How was this experience? Like Cars, from the film Cars.
Yeah, that actually is really like being a kid, kind of make-believe when you go to do those, because you're doing, 30 pages of dialogue in a day, and you're just going over, you're in a dark room and you're imagining that you're a car, but not really a car because you're still, a character. And I think that the way that playing Lightning McQueen, it's just kind of again working with the director and listening to them and just trying to make it sound natural. But I have a lot of experience then of kind of being out in public where a parent was telling their kid, this is Lightning McQueen, and the kid is just looking at me. Of course, they don't understand what their parent is saying because Lightning McQueen is a car.
A red car.
Yeah, and it's like a little kid, and then I just have to sit there nodding and try to say ka-chow, that's going to be sometimes
it's hard
awkward.
to convince the kid to our art.
Right.
Well, that's interesting. Also, we can have another question from, yes, this is Yasmin Sabri, one of our prettiest stars in Egypt. She's an
stars until we are international. The question I want to ask you, the roles you choose, is it close to your character? Are you like light-hearted? Are you like a person who takes things in a sarcastic, funny way? Sometimes when we look at a problem, you can look at it as, I will look at the good side, the funny side. Is that who you are? Because when I look at the Internship, the movie, Wedding Crashers, not the story, how you are, is it close to who you actually are?
Well, it just depends on the day, because what's that song? You can be a million different people from one day to the next, and I think that within everybody there's it's like the changing of the seasons, and so. The way that I've ended up being in a lot of funny movies, I don't know how that, worked out. I didn't have a background as a comedian or, never a stand-up comedian, so maybe just beginning early on the way, I sort of saw things was in kind of a funny way, but I'm not sure. I wasn't a great student. In fact, my dad had a club that he said that he was the charter member of, the 3790 Club, which stood for 3 sons, 7 high schools, 9 colleges, 0 degrees. And that to me is an example of, obviously my dad wasn't thrilled about that, but he used humor as a way to kind of cope with his disappointment. And I think that that's the best thing about humor, is not so much, slapstick, which can be funny, but using humor as a way to cope with life and the disappointments and
frustration.
And the sadness. And so I don't see sometimes a big difference between the two.
Speaking of that, all artists, we have our downtime. Sometimes we have dreams that we can't make them come true, and we feel down or depressed. Or do you experience that sometimes? Because
I think, like I was saying, I think that maybe that's the attraction of looking for kind of a funny way to interpret something. And also, I think just playing against the predictability of something, because then it goes the other way with a movie like Wonder. And with that, you don't want to be too sentimental and too you don't want to play into what's already a very, I think, touching and moving story. And so I think that's, you know, the big thing is just trying to be original, or if not original, at least not obvious, and not playing something, oh, this is a sad scene, so now we're going to play it very heavy. If it's a sad scene, just maybe try to find a little bit of humor in it. Or at least a bittersweet quality to it.
This is a great film. I really fought last year to have it in a Gouna Film Festival, since our theme is Cinema for Humanity, and I felt how relevant this film could be, but then unfortunately...
Was that the theme last year, Cinema for Humanity also?
Yeah, but it continues, it's forever.
Yes, it's always for humanity.
Yeah, it's always for humanity,
right.
Yeah, but you know, the film we wanted, but the problem with the distribution is that the release time was in November, our festival is in September, and I really wanted this film, but all the distributors said no, it's not possible, because it's 2 months prior the release. I would have loved to have the film with the selection last year.
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
But we have you this year, which is like...
Here we are.
It's great to have you. Who else?
Sorry, yeah. Hi, Owen. Welcome to Gouna, welcome to Egypt, above all. And just a quick question, 2 quick questions actually. The first one, being exposed to such culture and history in that week you've been in Egypt so far. I mean, you've been to Luxor, one of the oldest temples of continuous worship, and the Nile. Agatha Christie wrote her, one of her masterpieces. So
yeah, we saw the hotel where I guess
the cataract.
She did some of the writing. Yeah, did she do the writing in
the cataract? Yes. No, that was in Aswan actually.
Aswan, but they said maybe she did the outline then.
Exactly. So, would you say you would come back I mean, were you inspired, aside from coming here as a guest of honor and everything, would you say you would you
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to jinx myself, but I feel that my brother and I were talking kind of about just the experiences and how great it would be to film a story here, and we're kind of talking about we already kind of have a title.
Yeah. And the second quick question is, I mean, how can we get more narratives from this part of the world? Because again, the problem with Hollywood, I mean, this is my humble opinion, but I feel Hollywood is kind of drying up with the content. It's milking.
It does seem like that there's a lot of times it's superheroes and that get made, but now with things like Netflix and that stories, there's other outlets to tell stories, and it's becoming where there's less of a difference than certainly when I was beginning, and there was a big distinction between TV and movies, and now you can see something great that's made for one of those, and so. Yeah, I think that there's still lots of great stories being told.
And if you were to give one tip to aspiring actors and writers, what would that be?
Well, it's what I was saying earlier. I think that it's so important to write, if you can, or to find a group of people that you get along with, that are creative, and a little community of creative people and artists, and try to tell a story. And come up with a story that you can do yourself, and don't wait for someone else to give you the chance. Just do it with your friends, because as I was saying, had we not done that, my brothers and I with Wes, we would never have, had we just gone out to Hollywood and auditioned for movies, it wouldn't have worked. We went out with a movie that we'd already made, and then got good, feedback, even though no one saw the movie and it didn't do well. Some people in Hollywood appreciated the movie. This is our first one, Bottle Rocket, and so that I think would be the best advice that I would give someone is to just try to connect with like-minded people. and come up with a story to tell. And there's not that many original stories. It's just the details that go into the execution that make it come alive.
Interesting. I think he answered you generously. Huh? So I'm going to play a quick game with you, and then we go back to more questions. I'll give you one name, Owen, and you give me a word or a phrase, a sentence about each name. What if I say Ben Stiller?
Funny. Again, that one, when I talked about Bottle Rocket, people didn't see the movie, and it seemed like, oh, this is sort of a failure, but a few people did, and one of those was Ben Stiller. And I remember him writing a letter to me and Wes and saying how much he loved the movie, and that, that relationship with Ben has been a huge thing in my life because we've worked on so many movies together, and it began with this, little idea that we had in college in Austin that he responded to. So I think also with Ben, even though we sort of appear so different and we play up those differences in movies, a bigger thing is sort of our compatibility with sense of humor and the things that we find funny. And Ben is definitely not a stand-up comedian background. He can be a little bit moody,
Aren't we all?
Yeah, exactly.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, and again, sort of uses humor to kind of deal with that.
Yeah. So, Julia Roberts, how was it to work with Julia on Wonder?
Yeah, I was nervous to work with her just because growing up, she's, you've seen her in so many movies, and she's exactly that, an icon. And she was just very good at kind of putting everyone at ease, and really smart and funny, and so that was a great experience working with her. And again, I think working in that sort of story that could have sometimes edged towards being too sentimental, or that was a danger, she always played it the other way. And I admire that.
She tried to find humor even on...
No, not necessarily the humor, although she would, but there's one scene where the kid playing our child is saying that he's ugly, and that people say that, and she, instead of saying, oh no, she gets angry and says, very strong and firm. And I just really...
She was with him on the bed, and you were watching everything that's happening.
And that, to me, ends up being more emotional the way she does it. Again, because it was just not the obvious way to play it.
Back to our great audience. Yes? Who has the microphone? Okay.
Hi. I just wanted to say it's really nice to see another fellow American in Egypt, and that you're not afraid of what you hear on the news about what happens in Egypt. It's this and that, and it's really nice to see that you're secure enough with yourself to come to another country.
Okay.
I'm not seeing this other American. Oh, there you are.
So did you have fears?
No, I know. That's what I was. Well, right. You do kind of hear so much that when you say you're, coming to this part of the world, people are, oh gosh, be careful, and so that's also been, kind of amazing, is to see, to be here and to kind of have this experience, and to be able to kind of see for yourself and appreciate a great part of the world that a lot of people don't come to for exactly what you're talking about because of that.
But they tell me the same thing about South Africa. tell me if you're going to South Africa, be careful. And like, be careful
Of what, sharks?
money and sharks.
But do they say that about South Africa?
Yeah,
They
in
do?
South Africa they tell me, yeah, even when...
Really? You'll
Yeah,
get
and if you're
robbed.
going to London, be careful of the pickpockets, and there's so
Brazil.
many... And Brazil, there's many parts of the world, it's not just this region, but I think it's perception of the unknown. But, well, going back to our game, I'll ask you another name, and you tell me, Jim Carrey.
Well, I worked with him on the first movie that I got cast in after Bottle Rocket, in The Cable Guy, and he's just a force of nature.
Yes,
Yeah, I remember, I think it was that director, Joel Schumacher, saying that it's impossible to steal a scene from Jim Carrey because he just has so much energy and yeah. And then also in The Truman Show, that's a great one. And yeah. Sometimes your life, everyone has that where they can feel like they're in The Truman Show.
Especially now with the social media and the open space
Yes.
and the selfies and the live streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are Truman Show.
Yeah,
Each one of us is
Truman Show here in El Gouna.
Okay, how about Meryl Streep?
I've never worked with her, but
Would you like to?
yeah, who wouldn't want to work with her? She's. What's your favorite Meryl Streep movie? I mean, it's hard to say because
Yeah,
there's so
true.
many.
I think the Oscars
great
also
ones.
find it hard to
How
to
many
say-
Oscars
to miss
has
her
she won?
on every
Yeah,
Oscar.
yeah, I know.
It's not easy. So back to you. If you would tell the all the aspiring actors and filmmakers, what advice would you give them? What have you learned?
I think film festivals are a great opportunity for young filmmakers to sort of get their foot in the door. And I know with the Sundance Film Festival that
Nicole
helped. We were
Guillemette.
talking the other day about how much that helped me and Wes, and that they accepted our short film, which was really just the first act of what became our movie, Bottle Rocket, and then participating in the summer workshop. But you know, it was so exciting for us to be able to go there, and then I had, when I was finding out about this film festival, a friend said he had some friends that had made a documentary that was here last year, and they had a great experience here. So just what I was saying earlier, the chance to be around people that love movies and
Passionate about the same thing.
and, well, also, I don't want to say connections, because that's sort of a that's not quite the word, but meeting people that are interested in the same thing and want to kind of do the same sorts of things. That's really important.
Of course it is. So, who has the microphone? Okay. We need the microphone down there too, because...
First I got to say, nice outfit. As usual, you're stealing thunder from Zoolander. As usual.
Zoolander.
My question would be, as Owen Wilson, a comedy actor and also a great drama actor, what is the minimum comfort zone that you require from every director you work with to feel yourself in front of the camera, to
That's a good question.
even improvise?
I think it's usually getting a feeling, because I said earlier about how sometimes acting can be a little childlike, make-believe, that you want to have the confidence that there's somebody steering the ship, so you don't have to worry about that. So that, I would say, is a big thing, that you believe or have faith in the director, that he knows what he's doing, so you don't have to worry about that, and you can just focus on kind of creating the character. So that's a big thing. And then I've been lucky with working with directors that have always given me freedom to try to, put things in my own words, or
All of them?
Well, not all of them, and so the couple of times where it's been a little bit of a struggle is when I've worked with somebody where I felt that hasn't been encouraged. Because I wonder, well, what are we doing here if we're not all trying to, make the best thing possible? And so when you're not quite on the same page with somebody creatively, that can be a struggle.
Who else?
Yes, is it my turn?
Yeah, Shadi.
Hi.
Shadi is an actor, and he
I'm,
was on Estelle.
Oh yes, my brother.
How's it going?
Andrew was. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just got a couple of quick questions, if that's okay. First of all, do you prefer comedies, or do they keep ending up in your lap? I don't know if someone asked this earlier. I got here a little bit late.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They, in a way, they keep ending up in my lap. But then sometimes when I work on a drama or work sometimes on an action thing, and after weeks of that, you're like, God, I'd love to just get back to laughing. And but I think to me the best thing is working on a drama that has funny elements in it and that is grounded in a reality and still has emotion. And I think that the movies that Wes Anderson does, that those reflect that stuff that's funny, but also I think very moving, and that's my favorite type of story.
Awesome. And my last question is, how is it working with Jackie Chan in comparison to Vince Vaughn?
They're both. Jackie is. Vince is somebody that just being around him in real life, if he's sitting here, you're just going to be writing down stuff that he says, just because just his natural charisma and personality is very unique, and his way of talking and expressing himself. And Jackie,
body language as well.
Yeah, and Jackie, if he's sitting here, he's not going to be talking that much. Yeah. Right, so it'll be, they're very different in that respect. Both great.
Thank you, and thanks again for being here. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks very much.
Okay,
Yeah. One
here,
more.
my question. Being a writer and actor alike, would you prefer that you be involved in the writing process from the early beginning, and how you deal with your co-writer? I know that Mr. Wes Anderson is sort of your alter ego, but how you can deal with also delivering notes quite often?
I'm sorry, what exactly was it?
He was on the left here, up there, the red shirt, and he's talking about Wes Anderson being your alter ego, in a way, and what else? Delivering notes.
Oh, delivering notes. You have to be, this gets into something sort of, you have to kind of tiptoe around sometimes, feel people out, because if I have an idea for the way maybe you should say a line, you might not want to hear that from me unless we have the type of relationship where it's like we sort of trust each other.
Yeah, friends.
And friends, and that you feel supported. And so...
actors are very sensitive to notes.
To notes from other actors.
From other actors. We have that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's the big drama in this side of the world.
Really?
If you tell a co-actor how he should act, he goes like, "You're going to tell me how to do my job?"
Yeah, and Ben Stiller has said that sometimes when I get towards the end of the day, get tired, he says, I have a tendency to start directing other people.
Yeah, but what can we do in such situations?
I think it's just that people sort of recognize that you're coming at it from just a way of trying to make the scene better. And
more creative,
certainly, right,
better,
not trying
yes.
to, give somebody, more lines or, things like that. That it's really just sort of, how do we make this come alive? And how do we make it have It's because of course it's not enough for it to just be real. It has to be interesting and entertaining. And I remember reading Jack Nicholson talking about working with Stanley Kubrick and saying that as an actor you always want to make things real, and that's always the goal, is I'm going to make this so real. I've never seen something this real. And he had finished a scene and Stanley wanted to do it again, and he said, you know, Stanley, that felt really real. And Stanley was like, yeah, but it's not interesting. So you've got to make it, and Jack said, that's right, it's got to be more than that. It's got to have some, you know, something special in it.
Yeah, I think it all depends on the way people deliver well, how you talk to others. You can say it's the same thing.
Is there a lot of theater in Egypt?
Of course. Well, that's the... I've done plays. I've been on stage many times.
Yeah. You find it much different than film acting, and
of course, and it's very tricky to be honest, to work on stage and then in cinema. You have to be very sensitive to how to control your voice, your reactions, because on stage you have to be a little bit overreacting, because you need the last one in the last seat to see what you're doing. But you need to tone it down when you're working working in films, because the camera sees everything, every single detail of your face and your reactions. So it's very tricky that here, even in Egypt, we have this inside stories or like backstage kind of stories that, those who work in theater, they are too overacting when they work in films. So unless you have a good director who knows how to tone you down, who knows how to direct you, to how to do it, but not like on stage, it's so different.
the camera's right here.
Yeah. Imagine if you're doing something and it's like, like that on stage.
You gotta play it back here.
If it's the camera, they will see probably your throat.
If you're right, if you're on stage, something's over there. If you're in a movie, it's over there. Don't turn away.
You have to be careful, So I'm interested to listen to Faridun Shkharaya from India, from Bollywood Hungama. Can we give him the microphone, please? Are you aware of of course, Indian cinema, Indian movies, because they're very popular in this side of the world, in Egypt?
Hi, Owen, this is Faridun from Bollywood Hungama. So my question was that you've done this movie called the Darjeeling Limited, and I think it was received very well. So could you please just share some experience of working on that movie?
I would say that is maybe my, if I had to think of kind of a movie that is my favorite movie that I've worked on, it would maybe be that one, just because of the story about brothers I really relate to, being one of three boys, and that experience of being in India and what that story is about, and trying to find a spiritual connection, and just a beautiful movie I think, to watch, the way Wes and Bob Yeoman shot the movie. And you talk about going someplace that is so different from my experience and where I live, and that's what it felt like. And it's funny, when I was in Luxor, when we were driving along late at night, you see people out in the streets, and I thought about India, and I was almost expecting it when the windows were rolled down to have that sort of, India has this particular sort of, you just kind of feel it in the air. But I was thinking, is that what it's going to be like here in Luxor? But that was just great being in Udaipur and Jodhpur, and something I'll never forget.
Have you been approached by any Indian filmmakers for any collaboration by any chance?
I have not. Maybe they know I'm not a good singer and dancer. So
Are you not?
No.
We wouldn't see you in a musical?
I wouldn't hold your breath. No.
there and one there, please. So.
Hi, I have two questions. First one, to how extent the scriptwriter can interfere with the film execution. As a scriptwriter, do you interfere when the director executes your scenes and he changed something, or this is before execution, you sit with him and do the changes? First question, and second question, I have attended a panel for you like 4 years ago in Dubai Film Festival, I remember. And have you, during your visiting to festivals, see any Arab films? Have you ever seen Arab films? And last question, how you maintain a nice hair?
Nice hair, how can you? So the first two?
So, well, I wrote, the movies I wrote was always with Wes, and so he was the director, so we were always on the same page. And when you have notes, yeah, it's just, again, you have to be sort of careful with people's egos and understand that everyone's working very hard and has spent a lot of time and suggested in a diplomatic way. And yeah, and then I was looking at the roster of movies here, but I haven't seen any of the movies. I know that somebody was talking about a great documentary that was nominated for an Academy Award, The Square, or something.
Yes, Jehanna James Square is one of our programmers, and
Egyptian movie.
The Mummy, yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think they worked on restoring The Mummy, but a few years ago it was screened in Cairo Film Festival.
And Egypt is sort of known for having sort of the richest cinema history.
Yeah, it's like the Hollywood of the East because it's a heritage and it's been there for many years. And the technicians, and we have the know-how from many, many years ago. So that's why in the region, Egypt is considered, yes, the Hollywood of this side of the world. One more question. The hair. She's asking you, how can you keep the good hair?
You just got to go swim in the Red Sea.
That's a good one. Unexpected. So, how is it to work with Wes Anderson and work with someone else? I feel that he's your comfort zone. You've mentioned his name many, many times. So there's a great appreciation and understanding between you. So working with Wes and not working with Wes.
Yeah, there's because he's my oldest friend, so it's great. But I've worked with a lot of people sort of over and over. And we mentioned Ben Stiller and Vince and Jackie Chan, and these are people now that I've known for over 20 years. And again, it goes back to what I was saying about being lucky enough to become a part of a community of like-minded people. And that's what can be great about a film festival, is giving you the chance to meet some people that you might be able to be simpatico with. So again, yeah.
It's great. It's lovely to hear you talk. So I think we have to, one more, just one more. Can we take one more question? Or?
Yes, we can.
We can.
Hello, I'm happy.
Yeah, I need to.
Hello, I'm happy to be here and see you on this great conversation. And I like to ask you, would you accept an offer to act for an Egyptian movie, Egyptian production?
Good question.
Yes, for sure, I would. And what we were talking about earlier, the idea that I was thinking of was sort of, a story that would take place in Egypt, but an Egyptian production. Do a lot of co-production.
Co-production is a good idea.
And a lot of things get filmed in Egypt.
Not a lot, but there's some.
But there's crews and so if you do want to film something here, there's a whole infrastructure and studio and
anything for you.
Last 6-7 years, it happened a lot in Egypt, and all the news know about our revolution and what happened to news and stories, and we have an idea for you, and it's ready. And we can talk, and we can talk with Mr.
See what I mean about coming to film festivals, and you never know.
You never know who you're gonna meet.
Right.
Yeah, and we can talk about it with Mr. Najib Sawiras, because he's loves the cinema and love to see Egypt all time international level, and I think he's the best one can offer you this.
Well, that's the reason why he founded this film festival, because he's a cinema lover and really passionate about cinema.
Thank you.
Would you? Yeah, thank you. Would you? That's great. So yeah, because you know I've always seen that the fact that all Egyptian stars and actors, they want to go to Hollywood and act in Hollywood films.
There's some blonde Egyptians.
There's many. Look around you. Yeah, but the thing is, why is it always that we, from this side of the world, have to go to Hollywood? Why not the opposite? Why not invite you to work in our films and we work together? What's the problem with that?
Preaching to the converted.
So we started from here with Owen Wilson, that you should come and work with us.
I did want to say that part of what I had such a great tour, and this great
book
gave my brother and I and my friend the tour, and such kind of passion and enthusiasm for what we were seeing, and this was the book that he gave.
By way of
yeah, and I think he's friends with also Professor
Zahi Hawass, yes, Professor. He likes to wear a hat like you. You know, he's known for that. That's great. It's good to know that you're interested to work in this side of the world. It will be an honor for us to have you, and I think it will be the beginning of more and more American Hollywood stars to actually come and work with us here and not wait for us to go. It's lovely. Thank you to have you, Owen Wilson.